I hear a man weeping in the hallway. By user thedreadfiles. Case file number 03984. The following has been transcribed from a video taken by William Irvine on the night of October 3rd, 2020. The video opens on William holding his phone in front of him in selfie mode. He's standing in front of his door. A muffled noise from outside can be heard before he starts speaking. I awoke violently, as if something pulled me out of the depths of a deep sleep with great urgency. I woke covered in sweat, breathing heavily, and with what felt like a rock deep inside my stomach. I lay in bed for a few seconds, trying to catch my breath and calm my screaming nerves. Seconds later, I feel something shifting and stirring on the bed. Have I been woken by a great entity? Is this what has ripped me from my slumber? I brace myself, terrified as to what it could be as I slowly turn on the light to face whatever this is. As I turn on the light, I come face to face with my furry little companion, Jack. Jack lets out a long yawn as he blinks, trying to adjust his eyes to the unwelcome light. He walks over to me, greeting me with a series of soft purrs, and rubs his head against my hand. I chuckle to myself about what a funny situation that just was, how easily freaked out I am. I looked at my phone to find it was 3:12 a.m, way too early for an early start to the day, so I decided I'd get myself a glass of water and try to go back to bed. I threw the blanket off gently as to not disturb Jack, and as my feet touched the cold floor, I felt a shiver through my whole body. It felt unnaturally cold in my apartment tonight. I stumbled into the kitchen, blinding myself with even more light as I entered. I heard Jack following me with a series of quiet meows. He figured since I was in the kitchen, he deserved a snack. As I walked by the front door, the cold feeling hit me even harder this time. It was like an icy cold wind was blowing through my body. I've never felt anything like it. I shook it off and poured myself a glass of water. Jack jumped up on the counter begging for a snack, and I obliged by giving my little friend a few treats. As I sipped on my water and Jack indulged in his treats, I heard a rather odd noise. It was muffled, but I swore it sounded like a man weeping. Assuming it was my imagination, I kept sipping my water while I mindlessly scrolled through Instagram. Jack rubbed against my hand again. He had finished his snack and was ready to go back to bed. I finished my water, took Jack in my arms and started back to the bedroom when I heard the noise again. The unmistakable sound of a man weeping. It was coming from outside my apartment. I stopped dead in my tracks. What was going on? Was one of my neighbours in trouble, or were they coming home after a long, horrible day? Everyone is usually long in by now. I had to investigate. I set Jack down on the couch as I went over to the door. The weeping was so loud I could tell the person was right outside my door. I felt that cold feeling again, taking over my entire body as if someone had poured ice-cold water directly into my veins. The feeling took hold of me for a moment and I froze in place. Was it that cold in here? What was happening? I found my nerve as I stepped up to the door and looked through the peephole. On the other side of my door I saw a man, fairly average looking from what I could see. He was pacing up and down the hall. He was quietly weeping and had his hands covering his. I immediately felt a sense of unease come over me from what I saw through the peephole. He was just slowly pacing while he wept. I couldn't see his face. I wondered if it was one of the neighbours down the hall I didn't know. It didn't make sense though. Why wouldn't they just go into their apartment? Maybe they had just went through a breakup. They were locked out. I didn't know what to think. As I stood puzzled, I continued to look through the peephole. It was as he walked by again that I noticed something rather odd. His clothes were in horrible condition. They were torn, distressed and covered in dirt. His shoes were almost worn through and covered in mud. It's very clear this man had either been living on the streets for some time or really did not care about his appearance. I grew more uneasy as I looked on at this strange man weeping in my hallway. He was clearly disturbed. What was I to do? We live in a decent part of town, so we don't get a lot of homelessness or drifters. If we ever did, they usually ran off if you told them to or got too close. My phone felt cold in my hands as I attempted to call my next door neighbour Andrew. The phone rang several times, but he didn't pick up. I wanted some backup before I spoke to this man. I didn't feel like calling the police. By the time they got here, they probably would have moved on. I decided to take matters into my own hands and speak to him myself. Maybe he just needs help. Grandma always said to treat everyone with kindness, even weird hobos that wander around your apartment always weeping to themselves at 3 a.m. I set my phone down to record video just in case. I'm going to wait till he's at the other end of the hall to open my door. I'm not too worried. He looks like a small and older man. Even if he rushed at me, I could slam the door pretty quick. Alright, Jack, you ready? There goes nothing. William slowly opens his door and the muffled sound of weeping gets much louder. Hey buddy, it's 3 a.m. and you've been out here for a while. Is everything alright? Can I call someone for you? There is no response, but the weeping sound abruptly stops. I didn't mean to upset you or anything, man. William stops talking abruptly and takes a step back because he yells, "Where the hell is your face?" William stops abruptly as he's thrown against the door. Another man quickly enters the frame, attacking him. The attacker is holding onto William's face, muffling his screams. The attacker slowly turns his head to look inside the apartment. As he does, it is seen that the attacker has no skin on his face. It is only withered and cracked bone with a couple very small patches of skin and one bloodshot eyeball. William continues to try and get away as several loud hisses are heard, followed by a loud scream from a cat as Jack lunges at the attacker. The attacker lets out an ungodly scream and swats at the cat that was trying to protect its owner. Jack is not seen in the video again. As the attack continues, the attacker turns to William again, blocking its face from view by the camera. After a few minutes, William stops screaming and moving. As he does this, the attacker drops him. William's body falls to the ground in a lifeless heap. As the attacker steadies himself, he is seen feeling around his face before he turns and leaves the doorway. The video continued to record until the phone's memory was full 2.5 hours later. The following morning, William's neighbour called the police after finding his body in the doorway where the attacker left it, and Jack meowing at their door. When police arrived, they found that 90% of the skin on his face had been removed and his left eye. The attacker has yet to be found, and it is truly unknown what exactly took place on that evening.